All right, everybody. If you are online,
the science, I feel like the science. Well, you know, don't want to be like an English teacher, right? Well, okay. Yeah, yeah, I feel like that's how it is. Like, you love the teacher, but it's English. But like English is sorry if anybody likes English. No, I'm not. I hated history. Oh god. I had fun this history. So yeah, they walk in the room and I have to play. I had support you guys. Not just like you're like the old man or like the old man before college. Interesting. That's weird. It was weird.
Everyone, we're gonna get started now. They don't. You're gonna have to yell.
They weren't good.
We're gonna get started now. Thank you. Please bear with me as I try to handle this hybrid platform because it ain't easy. Alrighty. So if you're joining us online, please be sure to use the link in the chat that will take you to the screen. So if you joined us late, that is how we will be taking quorum for today. So I'm going to set my screen to the QR code. And we are going to go right into our agenda.
What's that? I can't hear. Sorry.
Can you hear me out here on Zoom or no? Hearing yeses. Okay. Positive signs. Thank you all. So first thing is approval of the joint session of legislator meeting minutes. Is there a motion to do so?
Motion to do so.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? Seconded. Is there consent? Consent has been called. Is there any opposition? Hearing and seeing none in person nor online, we'll consider those approved. Moving into the approval of the agenda, I want to bring to your attention, everybody, that there was one change when I sent it out. I forgot to include the confirmation of the Secretary of the House. That is included on our agenda for today. That is the only amendment previous to the approval. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as it currently stands?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second? Seconded. Is there consent? Consent has been called. Is there any opposition?
I oppose. I'm joking.
Hearing and seeing none, we'll move into communications of which we have none. Moving into old business, we have the amended allocations bylaws. It's story time. Some of you may remember or may not know, at the December joint session, as attendance started to dwindle, we continued with the allocations bylaws. Since that time, over winter break, the Project X Finance Committee has been meeting and negotiating with the Allocations Commission, and they have agreed on new standards. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask if there's a motion to indefinitely table the amended ones from December, and then we will permanently get rid of those, and we will start fresh with the ones that were agreed upon between the allocations committee and the budget finance committee. So if there is no objection to that, I'll ask if there's a motion to indefinitely table the amended allocation bylaws from the December joint session of the legislature.
So moved.
And so moved, is there a second? And seconded, since we're indefinitely tabling, we're not going to approve, and it doesn't handle money that way, it can be called consent. It's a consent. And it's been called, any opposition? Hearing and seeing none, we'll say that passes. And now we go into our OSC collaboration request starring the fabulous Kate Bates. So, Kate, I will hand the floor over to you.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kate Bates. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I work with the Office of Student Engagement. Specifically, I work with our leadership programs, and I'm here to make a request regarding our outdoor initiatives program. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just give you some information on the budget and all the things. So specifically, my request is regarding our outdoor initiatives support. We have two programs that we have that happen every semester. Our Camp With Us, which is a camping program that we do at Gibbs House, and then our Leaders Unplugged program, which is backpacking trips. And usually for each of these programs, they happen Camp With Us 1 to 2 times a semester, Leaders Unplugged somewhere between 3 to 4 times a semester. Currently, with COVID, we have had to make our program smaller because of the equipment that we have, and that's really why I'm here today, is to talk to you about requesting funds specifically for our tents. Right now, we are putting 1 person in each tent that we take folks on the trip or on a camping trip. Previously, we used to put 2 to 3 people in a tent, so we can only take about 1/3 of the students that we were able to before. So we're asking for funding specifically for 8 tents out of 16 from WSA. We're also looking to expand our backpacks and sleeping bag selection. So currently we have about 40 backpacks and 40 sleeping bags, but we'd like to expand them a little bit to be a little bit more inclusive to different body types. So we're looking to add some specific backpacks so we can outfit folks a little bit better, as well as adding some sleeping bag expanders to also outfit our sleeping bags a little bit better. So we are specifically looking for WSA to fund $2,960 to cover the cost of 8 tents and footprints, as well as 2 backpacks. You'll also see in this budget, we're going to be looking to buy some equipment from some other different spaces, a little bit from our programming funds, as well as looking for some money, possibly from sustainability grant, looking for some more tents and footprints, some more backpacks, as well as some sleeping bag expanders. And then our annual transportation and fuel costs, because we take folks out to different places like Red River Gorge in Kentucky or Manistee National Forest, Indiana. We go to a variety of different places. We have to rent vehicles. That cost is usually about $5,000 a year. And then just updating equipment, like if a student needs rain gear, we'll purchase that for them. If purchasing food is an obstacle, we'll make sure to get that for them as well. And so the other budget items that we're looking to fund in other spaces is about $10,000, but I'm really asking WSA to fund $2,960 for those 8 tents and footprints and 2 backpacks. That is kind of the upshot. I'm going to stop my share here. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions? If you're online and you have a question, either just say me in the chat or if you use the reaction button on Zoom to raise your hand. Those are the two ways you can get my attention. Oh, we have a question in person for Alicia.
Hi, do you expect to need these resources like after you're able to have more than one person in intent again?
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
Could you? Yeah, do you want to say it?
Can you repeat it for me?
You repeat the question so I can say it?
Are they expecting to need the resources after they can have more than one person in intent again?
Now I heard it. Do we expect to need those resources after we add more humans to tents? The answer is yes. Previous to COVID, we had an extensive waiting list for all of these programs. So the last time we operated was in spring 2020, and the upcoming program had already 20 to 30 folks on a waiting list. So if we had more tents, we could serve more students. We have since changed how we staff the program. So now we can take out more trips per semester. So having more tents would allow us to take more students out, even if we're putting more than one person in a tent at a time. Great question.
Thank you.
No problem. And also for context, currently we have 13 tents. And then sometimes students bring their own, but our office can lend out 13.
Any other questions? I'm gonna wait a few extra seconds for people in Zoom in case there's a delay online. All right, hearing and seeing none, Kate, I'm going to bump you into a waiting room for now. We'll discuss and vote, and I will bring you back when we have decisions. All right.
All right, sounds great. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you. All right, so Kate has been bumped into the waiting room. What are our thoughts, everybody? Alan?
So as a member of the leadership committee on the outdoors initiatives team through Lead Corps, I have gone on multiple backpacking trips already and can 110% say having more inclusive equipment would make our Lead Corps so much better. Having more equipment would allow us to take more students out, as Kate said. I just think all around this is a great idea. It's one step in the right direction towards diversity, just like what we ran on here.
What?
Oh yeah. And bring it over. You're big man. Come on, man. I'm artist.
Now I don't have the pedigree that Colin has. I'm not in Lead Corps, that exclusive club. But it's probably a good idea. We should probably do it because it's nice. We've got money. We got too much money. So let's do that. And all right, we've done it.
Alexis, your hand raised?
Perfect. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, as someone who is in that exclusive club, I think that the work that Lead Corps does is incredible. I'm also on the Outdoor Initiatives Committee with Colin and have been on a few backpacking trips as well. These trips are a really great opportunity for student leaders and anyone looking to just, you know, get comfortable at Western in a community, in a place that they feel comfortable. So when we have more equipment, more inclusivity, it's great. And I think that WSA definitely has the money to be able to fund this, and I don't see why we wouldn't support it.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else wish to make a comment on this? All right, then I'm going to say we can end discussion and go into voting. As you should have all received an email today regarding how we will be doing voting via Slido. That poll is open. Please cast your vote at this time, whether you'll be voting in favor, in opposition, or abstaining from this collaboration request. recording you now. Yep. Right, just send it to you.
Hold that poll. You have someone who needs to log in. You still have someone who needs to log in.
It should be in the email I sent you.
Clear.
Do we need more time to vote or are we okay? People online, how are we doing?
Mayo?
Look up the mail. I'm going to close voting in about.
I did. Just mail. I'm an
No, he's not.
I'm an
Don't believe
engineer.
him.
I'm a CS.
He's computer science. No, that's not engineering.
That is it's software inside. It's software. You watch your time. What'd you get?
All right, let me know you're good over there.
Right.
He just got married, didn't he?
We're the instruments.
I saw the video. No. It was like right before COVID happened. And it was like a weird. Wait, in high school? I got engaged. Oh. I thought he was married.
That's really
No.
Computer science. The software engineering that you know that? Is that your major?
Is that your degree?
That's what I do. That's what I do.
Is that
Oh,
what your
so you're
degree
like
is?
I can also do.
All right, great.
You know.
All right, everyone, we're continuing with the meeting. Voting's over.
I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it.
Attention, everybody.
Thank you. All right. There were 39 votes and 97% of people voted in favor. So congratulations, you received your funding.
Thank you very much. Our students, thank you.
Okay, yeah, we can do a slow clap.
No, I already clapped. He's not.
All right, everyone, we're gonna go back into our agenda now. The OSC collaboration request is completed. We can now move into the confirmation of the Secretary of the Senate nominee and Alex Esperson.
Hey, everyone. I'm not Alex.
That much one's not out. Just, well, you can't see her anyway.
I just stand right in front of her.
The mic left.
Thank you.
Hi, senators. Most of you are at home. The rest of you are in the room. That says, so basically what's going to happen here is Alex is going to explain why you should pick her as the secretary. Then you get to ask her questions. Then you can discuss. Then you can vote. Why I'm explaining this. I guess Eric could have done this. I just got up here. Go ahead. Tell them why you should.
Hi, I'm Alex. I am a senator for the Honors College. And you should confirm me because I'm so excited to work with everybody. And I'm really passionate about leadership and stuff like that. And yeah, any questions?
I feel like I'm like.
Anyone in the room have questions?
I have a question.
Go for it, Miriam.
Why did you want the position?
I wanted the position. I thought it was a really good opportunity for me to get kind of like get more involved with WSA. That was like my main thing. I really want to get more involved and do more work. And because I felt like I wasn't doing a lot, and I saw WSA and I was like, yes, I want to do that. And yeah, I just wanted to do more, I guess, make more of a difference.
Okay.
Any other questions? Alicia?
What do you think you specifically can bring to this position?
I think I can bring more ideas on how to make the Senate like better, the Senate meetings better and stuff like that. And hopefully other ideas in our other like cabinet meetings and stuff like that. Yeah.
Like what?
Here it comes. Here it comes.
I think that hopefully with I'm a first year student and I've noticed that a lot of people here are like older. And I think having maybe a first year student would be beneficial because then I could get like first year students' opinions on things like, oh, I just came to Western and this was kind of like, you know, a problem for me or something like that. Like I would be able to give a different opinion, not as a younger student rather than an older student. Hopefully that makes sense.
I know she's calling us old.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you're not old. You're a young soul. Yes, yeah. I'm young. I don't know how to use my words.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, one back here.
Go for it.
I'm John. I'm part of the Senate. So, what experience are you bringing? Have you went
Since I'm a first year student, I just got out of high school, and at my high school, I was the vice president of my student council, and I was also on our like freshman kind of, how do I explain it? It's like our freshman advisor mentor group. I was on the e-board for that. And I was also just kind of like a leader in the school. I talked to my principal a lot about stuff we could bring to the table for our senior year. And overall, I worked really hard my senior year to get different activities, even during COVID. So I know how to like adapt with COVID and stuff like that. After being a leader during like the hardest year ever of senior year.
Why did you come to Western?
Do you want the fake answer or the actual answer? So the fake answer is, yeah, I just love like how it looked on the website. The real answer is it wasn't too far away from my hometown and it wasn't too close. So it was like, I'm like 2.5 hours away. And also it's like, I know it started as a teaching college and I'm a secondary education major. So I was like, oh yeah, let's go. Teaching.
What skill sets do you have that you personally feel makes you qualified for this position? How do we know that with those skill sets that you're not going to drop out mid-semester, let's say?
What was that?
Miriam, what did you say?
I said, what did that person say? I couldn't hear.
Question was, what skill sets do you have that make you qualified for this position? And how do we know that those skill sets will make sure you stay with WSA throughout the semester?
Okay.
Like I said, I was actually in student council all 4 years of high school. I started as a freshman and then I ended as vice president in my senior year. I talked with a lot of people during that time. So I talked when I was a freshman, I talked to seniors. When I was a senior, I talked to freshmen. And then I also went to a bunch of leadership conferences my junior and senior year. So I got different, I learned different skill sets as a leader during that time too. And for proof, I have pictures of when I went. I have a sticker that I went to that conference, that leadership conference.
What's the most interesting thing you learned at those conferences?
That online leadership conferences are not great at all. I learned that being a leader is more than just kind of standing, like saying, oh, I'm going to tell you all what to do. It's more about like connecting with people and kind of acting as a team rather than a person on top and then people on the bottom.
That's not true. I tell a lot of people.
Any other questions, either online or in person?
Would love to finish with an easier one. Can you confirm that you are indeed a Swiftie?
Yes.
No.
My first concert was 1989, and my last concert was Reputation. So.
Yeah, 1989, yeah.
The album.
I see something. All right, then hearing and seeing no more questions, I'm going to ask you to step outside and clear the doors are closed. Yes, thank you. We'll let you back in when we make our vote. Nobody say anything yet. It's getting closer. Thank you very much, but I appreciate it. All right, discussion points from senators only. Representatives are unable to vote or discuss Senate matters.
Did they discuss these matters of
I guess you could, but are there any comments? I see a comment in the back, yeah.
Yeah, I think we should see.
Did we stop the microphone? Did you just restate that for people online here?
Okay, my name is John. I'm Senator Light. I think she's okay. We can give her the opportunity.
Awesome. Have approval.
I've got one.
Go for it.
She's been, I appointed her about a month ago, so she's been sort of like acting secretary for a month, doing okay. But I'd like to make a note that if she isn't confirmed, I won't be hiring another one. So you're just not gonna get one. You'll be punished. All right, that's all I have.
I like her, but they don't, I like her. She didn't crack under pressure. She knows how to, engage people. And I think that she has the attitude that could potentially be sustainable for WSA and infectious to all. I mean, why not? I mean, what else are you gonna do?
Any other comments?
I like her.
Thank you. All right, seeing no more commentary and discussion, we can go into a vote for a confirmation. This does not handle money, so consent can be called. Is there a senator that would like to make a motion to approve Alex Kaczmarek to become the secretary of the Senate?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a senator who would like to second it?
Second.
So moved and seconded. Is there consent? Consent has been called. Any opposition?
Close. In opposition, so we have to enter into a vote.
I'm going to launch the Slido. If you are a senator, please vote. If you're a House of Representative person, you are not allowed to vote in this matter.
Yeah, it's just like they have to get out.
I know, scandalous.
I won't be hiring
You know
another
how long it took me to get one? Like, it took me an entire semester.
Are there?
There is a total
How many, votes I'm looking for?
of, total senator count. 13 as of right now.
Does that include you?
I did vote.
I have 11 votes in right now. 12.
How many?
Actually, it would be 12 without her voting.
Oh,
So that should be it.
already there.
For what?
I don't remember.
All right, then, with 12 votes in and 67% approval, we can welcome her back as the new Secretary of the Senate.
Everyone's so good.
All right, everybody, we're gonna do the exact same thing now, but with the Speaker, Secretary of the House. The Speaker's already there.
Hello, hello, everyone. How are we tonight? Thank you, thank you. Good. Okay, so.
That way about 3 steps.
So in order to appoint the Secretary of the House to fulfill my position afterwards, I sent out a Google form and received some applications. Some questions I asked on there were, why do you feel like you'd make a great secretary? What is one change you would like to make? What separates you from other applicants and anything else? And out of all the responses I received, I really enjoyed Ryan's the most, and I thought that he would make an excellent candidate to replace me. And is that funny? Okay. On the question where it said, why do you feel like you'd make a great Secretary of the House? The first thing he says is that he loves helping people. And to me, that's a big sign. That's my favorite thing. That's why I do leadership. I want to help as many people as possible. So that really hit home. Yeah, so I am going to give it to Brian to explain a little bit about himself, why he wanted to be in the position, and then we can go into the voting process.
All right, well, hello, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ryan Rubin. I represent the Society of Automotive Engineers. We build race cars. You passed it on the way in the lobby today. Like Colin kind of went into what I was going to say, but I wanted to be secretary, not just because it's a good life experience for me to bring into my career and to kind of add to my resume, but just because I like helping people. And I'm going to make it my mission to be your student advocate, to the university, to the executives of WSA, and to just do everything I can to help out both you and your RSO. So I would just like to say thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to talking to all of you soon. And I'll open it up to questions.
What are your qualifications?
So my qualifications for this role is I like to consider myself a people person. About a year and a half ago, I was kind of thrown into the role on my team as the business team lead as a freshman. And since then, I've spent time rebuilding the business team. And since I now have a business team up to 6 dedicated members from just myself, and the time period of about less than a year. And so we've been going out and getting sponsors, and we've raised over 10 grand in sponsorships this semester alone. And so I kind of think that not only was it me doing that, but it was me rebuilding that team and kind of putting into place procedures to help us do that. And so I hope to better my club via that route, kind of like I hope to better all of WSA and the university as a whole via the route of Secretary of the House of Representatives. Anything else? You have a question on?
But I didn't want to get just,
Okay. For the record, I was completely like chill with everything, and then you started asking hard questions, and now I'm nervous.
I want to have a couple more responses before I go.
Is there anybody online who would like to ask a question?
I have a question. Sorry. My phone was kind of. What do you like about Western? And have you like been following on like activities of WSA before wanting to join? Like what attracted you to Western and WSA?
So what attracted me to Western in the first place was I really liked the campus, and kind of like Alex was saying, it was perfect distance away from my home on the east side. Wasn't too close, wasn't too far. And I definitely liked the size of Western, not only its campus, but the size of like how many students it has. I felt like it was big enough to provide the resources that I need to bring into my career, but also small enough where I could have opportunities like this, and where I could make an impact on the university and maybe help change it and impact those who also enroll next to me. What attracted me to WSA again was helping out people. I initially joined to represent my RSO, the Society of Automotive Engineers, to help them out. So it just kind of goes back to me wanting to help people out, help my teammates out, and at the end of the day, help out all my fellow students. So that's the goal.
We had somebody ask if you're a Swiftie.
Unfortunately not. But I would consider myself to like most of Taylor Swift's music. However, I would not consider myself a dedicated fan. So.
Any other questions?
A little weird. Where do you buy your shirts? Because like I'm looking for like a new dress shirt place. Kohl's stopped selling, and I was really like lazy. Go there.
It was Coles.
Was it Kohl's?
Yeah.
They don't have it.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, I know. All right.
Any other questions?
Back there, new guy. What? This is my phone.
Really?
Good question.
Are there any questions regarding the nominees' ability to execute his office?
For you.
Okay, so you talked about leadership as far as like your automotive. All right, so what are other ways that you have shown leadership? And how do you handle situations where that?
I like to consider like a lot of like my life experience as a whole, and just kind of like my origin of wanting to be a leader from playing sports growing up. I played competitive soccer pretty much since I could walk, and so I learned to be a leader on every team that I was a part of. And I really enjoyed being able to lead people and do what I like, but also help others do what they love. And so I think that kind of applies to this. But just being able to help people, it really makes me feel good and makes me feel like I'm making an impact. What was the second part of your question?
I forgot, but helping people. How are you helping people? You said multiple times I like helping people. I like to support them with what they're doing. You haven't really answered the question of what does that look like? How does that sound like?
So in this context, it would be answering questions they have. So for example, when we have a new member, getting them acquainted with WSA, making them feel welcome, making them feel like that they can represent their RSO and make an impact like I felt. And kind of just doing, not like dirty work, but answering phone calls, replying to emails for WSA, helping it run smoothly. I think that helps everybody when it runs smoothly and when it runs organized. So that would be some examples of ways that I would help people in the House.
Any other questions? Go ahead, John.
Those things you just said, are they part of the duties of the secretary or just what do you think?
So those would be the duties of the secretary. So it is taking minutes for the House sessions, not a joint session, but for the House session. So I'll be doing things like that to keep it organized, taking attendance. Those are the basic responsibilities of the secretary. So I would like to do those to the best of my ability and kind of go above and beyond, help with new things like recruitment and just other things you can't really quantify, like making everyone feel welcome to WSA. And ensuring that it's a safe spot where people can come and they can feel like they're impacting their college community, but also their own RSO.
I've got one over here. How is your work with the allocations whatever you guys are calling it, going to benefit your job as a secretary of the House of Representatives?
It's going to streamline the process a little bit better. I know that there is a new process we're trying out this semester, which some of the really cool told me about. But how we're not going to be reimbursing anymore as far as allocations, but there will be different ways, yeah. But it'll be easier for RSOs to not have to fund the money. So I think that will streamline and help RSOs get the money they need to do the things that they want to do. And in addition, will kind of make my job easier, and your jobs are easier. So increasing those limits and making new avenues for RSOs to attain allocations, of course, make it easier for you guys, and then you're not angry, I'm not angry. Sure.
I would make motion to move into discussion. Made a motion to move into discussion.
It has been moved that we go into discussion. Is there a second?
Okay.
Moved and seconded. Is there consent? Consent has been called. Is there any opposition? All right, hearing and seeing opposition, that motion passes. We'll move into discussion. I'm going to have to ask you to step out to the hallway, please.
Who has the first discussion point?
Well, hang on, I'm still in the room. I can start walking the mic over.
No.
I worked with him in the allocations committee, and he's done a lot with the committee, writing letters to office engagement, being involved in meetings, attending meetings, the process. So he's very involved. I think he really does care about what they say and the success of the organization. So I would highly recommend him for the position.
I live with the dude. He's great. He's organized. I've already started transitioning him. He's picking everything up instantly, and I did not make the process easy because I took the Secretary of the House position and made it about 10 times harder than what the bylaws say it should be. He's doing it with ease. So, anybody else in person?
Or anyone online?
I think he seems ready. I don't know. He just knew a lot of things and seemed ready for the position.
Thank you, Miriam. All right, hearing and seeing no further discussion points, we'll move into voting. Is there consent? Consent has been called. Is there any opposition by a member of the House of Representatives? Hearing and seeing none, he's been approved as the Secretary of the House. Alrighty, so we just finished that. Now, the allocations vice chair has informed me that he has to leave for class at 6 o'clock. So I'm going to ask for a motion to amend the agenda to push the allocations commission bylaws and the full student election code. So moved. Is there a second?
Opposed.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there consent? Consent's been called. Any opposition? Hearing and seeing none, the motion passes. We can go now into the allocation bylaw. Just gotta plus these.
Oh, never mind. This is all like the same thing. Okay, so we should not separate.
Oh.
All right, well,
Hi everyone.
Not looking.
Hello.
Yeah, get after that. Just give up this.
We have.
Testing, test perfect. Thank you. Right. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shankit. I'm the Allocations Vice Chair. Pretty much it. So I believe that Eric kind of briefed on like what happened the previous deliberation. It didn't pass because there's a lot of disagreement with how, especially for the operational budget and the conference budget should look like. I'm just gonna see if I can share screen. Attempt.
I have it up here too.
I actually sent couldn't see a presentation slide, but just a quick one. Alright, it's fine then. Yeah, anyways, I'm lost. So I'm just gonna go briefly on why do we need a new bylaw? Firstly, because it's part of what we call Project Reset. So Project Reset is kind of like a thing that the Allocation Commission has launched since I can't.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, because you prohibited me. Yeah.
You should be able to share right now.
I'm not 12-year-old.
Yeah, there you go. Just gonna present this. Yeah, so technically, so part of the Project Reset is this technical acronym: Reform, Empower, Sustainability, Engagement, and Transparency. So that's laid on more in detail later. To greater heights and kind of make us a little bit better compared to previously. We noticed that, for example, a lot of information is fragmented. For example, there's 3 separate agencies related to the allocation process. So the Allocations Commission, information is fragmented. A lot of RSOs will come to us and say, hey, how do we get reimbursement? I will honestly answer you, I do not know. All I can say is that please go to Office of Student Engagement. So in my part, I felt that the responsibility of the commission is to provide that information for all students. So we came up with this packet, probably gonna talk about it later, so that technically we created a new allocations process, so everyone knows where to go to, everything is consolidated, everything is comprehensive. Technically we're just gonna hand in, I would call it a Bible for Allocations Commission, so everything's in there. That's pretty much it. So technically you can scan those for online. You guys can scan this QR code. On my left-hand side, it's the new one. On the right-hand side, it's the old one. So I'm just gonna jump out and go to Log tab. So there you go. Is everyone able to see my whole screen? Let me just share my whole screen. Sure. So I'm just gonna go through as briefly as possible because it's quite long. So technically, whatever's top part regarding principle and everything is exactly the same. If you guys, those who are in hand, physical copy, or you guys back at home in your laptop, you're opening this document as well. You can see those highlighted, yellow highlighted words. Those are the edited one. So I'm just gonna glance through. Technically the same. What we did is that we flipped the old bylaws where all the information regarding the commission, we flip it to the top part because we felt that we should define who we are first before diving into what the allocation process is. Membership, technically we added, you do need a WMH account because that's the main way that we can contact you. We edited the CGPA, we switched it to 2.5 because we find that we move it up from 2.3 to 2.5, mainly because it's a lot of work. So we want to make sure that your studies is okay. We don't want you to screw up your studies as well. Pretty much it. Composition. So part of Project Reset is that we want to have a more diverse perspective. So because we understand that there's like different committees in the Senate, what we are planning to do is that we want those senators to be included in our allocations process as well. So part of it's like, for example, Campus Sustainability Committee Legislature, technically Senator for now. So they'll focus on that technically, like if the budget proposal, is it sustainable or not? Does it, they said, oh, hey, by doing this event, it'll be more sustainable for the campus. But, you know, probably the senators argue differently and we're gonna fund lesser, for example, or fund more. Because we do have a new exemption policy that kind of we're gonna talk about later as well. Yeah. And the second main point is because of pandemic, a lot of people are not involved with WSA, probably don't even know what WSA is. So we kind of like, we had a lot of struggle finding a lot of members to join us. So that's what we did. We just included senators in as well. Appointment, pretty much the same. Not much difference. We just seek like Dakota's advice, saying that, oh, hey, which senators should we pick? And then he will say, this is good, this is good, this is good. And he referred it to us. So yeah. We added secretary and treasurer, mainly because we expanded the amount of duties and workload for what the commission is doing. And as we move forward with Project X, the burden that we bear on the commission be increased. So we thought that we should add a secretary and treasurer as well. Resignation, previously, they just said, the previous bylaw just mentioned that, hey, you can just resign whenever you want to. So we've noticed that that's not ideal for us because what happens if the day before the deliberation and someone says, hey, I'm just gonna resign. So that's not good for us. So we thought like, hey, you do need to provide a 72 hours. Please inform us 72 hours before you resign so that you can find a replacement. Qualification, we added that you do need allocations workshop through us. 10K is just a brief one. So to those RSOs out there who wants to apply for funding, to my understanding, right now we only received 3 applications for the next deliberation next week, next Friday. So we do have a workshop this Friday. If you can't attend, it's totally fine. We make those exemptions because this is the first week and it's a bit rushed. So not all part because we didn't inform you guys as early as possible. We added, we do need a WSA representative as well. So technically, we noticed that a lot of RSO, they come to us and say that, oh, hey, you don't even know what WSA is, but all you want is the money. So we find that if you want to be involved in campus, you do need to contribute to campus as well. So you do need to like contribute to one WSA representative to the house. So, allocations here, previously it was a cycle. They say cycle, but yeah, so technically we changed that to year because it's more standardized. I'm gonna glance through as fast as possible as well. Yeah, so previously it was, in terms of pre-duties for the commission, we did not have this sending out the schedule. So sometimes you want to like be responsible as well. We don't want to just like say, oh, hey, we're gonna send out the schedule whenever we want to. So we changed that to say that, hey, we do need to send you guys a schedule at this university to stay. And that gives you guys a chance to say, hey, Chan, Kate, or Naren, you guys, do have a class at the time. Can I switch the time? So you can negotiate on that as well. This part, I'll talk about it more. So technically in the future, we have expanded the cap for event funding. We introduced Bronco Funding. Collaboration stayed the same, but technically amount that is above 5,000, you do need to provide much more detailed proposal, which I'm going to show you guys later as well. Why is this? Because there's a few RSOs that approach us and ask us for like a $7,000 budget. Yet they just put in the numbers, they don't even explain what those are. So in our opinion, because it's everyone's money, it's all the students' money, we felt that, hey, if you want to have the money, you do need to put in the effort as well. You do need to show us that where the money is going to. So yeah, it's not that hard. We put even a guideline to it. So, so this is where everything's exciting. Probably everyone would want to like open up their eyes, be more focused on this part. So it's Article 6. What we're going to do is that we introduce a lot of new fundings. So naturally, there's challenges too as well, because previously, a few years back, if not mistaken, 4 or 5 years ago, what happened was the Education Commission ran out of money. They exhausted $500,000. So what happened was, I forgot which top leadership in the university, I forgot the name, had to came down and like resolve the issue because a lot of clubs weren't happy about it. So we kind of like need to introduce this cap because to kind of like balance out with a lot of new caps and restrictions, we expanded it. So we do need to introduce this $25,000 cap. Event funding, pretty much the same. We kind of like tweak a little bit. So for example, like 50 hours wage for student DJ. Previously, it was 50 hours wage for DJ, which is pretty much doesn't make sense because which professional DJ would want to be paid $50 per hour? Doesn't make sense to us. There's international festival as well. I'm gonna show you guys, it's right here. Yeah, so this is the previous one, side by side. So you guys can see comparison. So international festival events, if I understood correctly, it was meant to be only the international festival event. But sometimes students would interpret it as like, oh, hey, let's say Indian night or Malaysian night or like Chinese night or Korean night or Japan night. All these are considered international festival events as well. So are they prohibited? And if they are prohibited, it contradicts with what we say as we want to focus on diversity as well and so forth. I'm just going to skip event funding. It's not much difference. Here we go. Operational funding. I'm just going to read out because these are like the important parts. Section 6.04, operational funding opportunity. Operational funding will not exceed $1,000 per semester to an RSO with an exception to the Brown and Go provision being invoked. I'm going to talk about Brown and Go provision in a bit, but previously $1,000 was per year. And we find that some RSOs for the size pretty much different. Some RSOs can comprise up to like 50, 60 students, and some RSOs only like 7 students. So to us is that we should not limit the amount of operational funding because different RSOs have different needs as well. So we kind of think that, hey, we do need to increase it. But some RSOs would argue, hey, we do not use much event funding, for example, or conference funding. We do need more operational funding because the nature of our RSO is different. So we're going to talk about Run and Go provision later, which would kind of like increase that cap even more. Then we have conference funding. So previously it was $1,000 per year. So we increased it to $5,000 per year. So that's a 5 times jump. So similarly, Brown and Gold, I'm going to talk about it later as well. We're going to possess, but we do require you to provide your CGPA to Office of Student Engagement as well, just to show them that, hey, your academics are okay, you're not screwing up your studies, so you're okay to go for the conference. Section 6.606, startup funding opportunity. What happened was during the September deliberation, one of the business RSO who just recently started up the representative kind of like spoke to us, and like she forked out like almost $300 from her own pocket. So we felt that, hey, since RSOs do need that money once to start up, because for example, like compared to WSA, we are rich, we have a lot of money, we have direct access to senior assessment fund. Some other RSOs do not have that privilege to do that. So if say, hey, why not we just provide like a one-off $300 just for you to start up your whole RSO. So you guys can have like a sort of like equal playing field kind of game to other RSOs as well. So this funding opportunity do not need to go through a deliberation because we even discussed this with Office of Student Engagement. They said that, yep, it's a good idea because there's no point of us doing it, of having a deliberation. So what they do need to do is that they do need to submit a simple proposal and just present it in front of the commission. Simple commission chair. Then we have Bronco Funding. What happened was one of my friend, actually I know her, she had an idea where she wants to support the Asian community, AAPI community on campus. But because she's not in part of any of the RSOs, AAPI, and they don't kind of like welcome her because like you can't just jump in and just pitch your idea. So what they did was they what I kind of like interpreted it and kind of like try to make it more accessible for everyone. And this is called Bronco Funding. Technically, it's like individuals can apply for funding as well. So those are the requirements. I'm not going to go through it. We find that, hey, we want to make it as accessible or even create an opportunity for students. But we do need to have some accountability to it as well. You guys can go through that. Collaboration funding is exactly the same. So I'm not going to go into detail. So these are the tricky part. Section 6.10 sustainability exemption provision. So technically, during the deliberation, when the commission sees that, hey, this item can be used for future use. Like for example, other RSOs can use it in the future. So we say, hey, we're gonna like cut up 50% of it. We're gonna pay for the 50%. Your cap will be reduced so that you guys can use more cap. But that item that we purchased, 50% of it, that belongs to the commission, and that can be shared to other RSOs as well. So that kind of promotes sustainability as well. So that was kind of the policy that we introduced. So in the future, RSOs will kind of aim to purchase more items that are more tangible. So that in the future, they say, hey, we can just save our money, so I can spend it to other items. It's kind of like a subsidy kind of thing. So yeah, this is the exciting part. Section 6.11, brown and gold provision. So technically, we noticed that some RSOs do need more funding for operational and conference funding. So what we did is that we had a discussion with the finance committee. We want to credit and thank like Matthew, Ryan. Got a few of the names. I'm so sorry, I'm bad at names, but to those who attend all the committee meetings and reply on my message during the winter break, I thank all of you. If not, I wouldn't know what to do. But anyways, yep. So what this brown and gold provision does is that, so for example, like in RSO, they had like, for example, operational funding, you get $1,000. So it's full funding. And you want to double the amount, you can do that. What you need to do is that you need to inform the commission chair or in the packet in the future when you sign up for the funding, there will be a checkbox and say that, hey, do you want to invoke this provision if you do get full funding? Check the box. Technically, you would refer to the WSA Legislature. So what happened is that there'll be two different parts, I would say, because of the timeline. So all of our deliberation is on the last week of the Friday. So if you want to apply for your funding, you need to get it before, like for example, you want to get it end of the month. So you need to wait a long time. But what if you want to have it the next 2 weeks? So that's like a timeline issue there. So we propose two ways. One is WSA joint session. So like for example, this session here. So RSOs can just come in. For example, I'm the RSO. They can deliberate and say that, hey, instead of $1,000, I think I should get 1,007 for this funding. And then the commission will come forward and also respond and say that, hey, we don't think you need 1,007, mainly because of this. We propose 1,003. So what the joint session would do is that they would first vote for the RSO's budget proposal in front of everyone. If it gets a 2/3 majority pass, the RSOs get 1,007. But if it fails to pass, they will vote for the commission's budget proposal, 1,003. If it fails to pass, the RSO will still get their original funding, which is $1,000. So technically, we provide that opportunity for RSOs to have that additional funding as well. So this is what the brown and gold provision does. And technically, we have discussed this with the finance committee and they agreed to it. Shout out to them. We discussed this for quite a few hours, I would say. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the brown and gold provision. Why is it called brown and gold provision? Mainly because brown is operational funding, conference funding is gold, and gold is money, I guess. And it's and it's like the school branding. So we just thought, yeah, why not brown and gold? Just for name's sake. But yeah, pretty much for brown and gold. Do you guys have any questions? I'm just gonna stop right here for now.
So when you're asking a question, are you
I'm just gonna ask for Article 6 for now.
Section 6.1.
Yes. I'll just go through section 6.10 and section 6.11 for questions for now.
We have a question, doesn't having cultural events bring more diversity on campus? Also, how is Bronco funding fair if RSOs have to have a WSA rep to get funding, but non-RSOs don't? So let me get this straight. To the cultural festival, they're still being funded and they're still eligible, right? We removed that.
Yeah, so what I think that's a miscommunication there. So technically what I meant is that previously in a previous bylaw, international festival was prohibited. But it was always been based on interpretation because law has always been based on interpretation. So we find that we should get rid of it so that we can allow any cultural events to have on campus. I believe that answers that question. And how is Bronco funding fair? Well, if you want to go through that process compared to a normal RSOs would have to process, I think it would be fair. Technically, I would go through then since you asked. Technically, they only have $5,000 per year, per event, sorry, and $10,000 per academic year. They do need to provide a very, very detailed budget proposal and they do need to have a supervision under the vice president. There's if I remember correctly, there's 5 vice presidents to pick. One of the vice president technically would have to supervise that committee that's created, and they do need to respond to WSS. Technically, like a collaboration under WSS. So technically, they are having a WSA representative with us. So we're just creating an avenue for an individual to allow. We don't just prohibit. So for example, like an individual have a good idea. You don't want to like just dismiss them because you do need to join an RSO, need to have events. We don't want to kind of restrict that idea. But yeah. Yeah.
I have several questions on that because I actually agree with that question as far as why would an RSO who kind of like knows what they're doing have a WSA rep but a non-RSO person doesn't? Why are we restricting like them for asking for the funds and not giving them a representative when they don't know how things are ran? That doesn't make sense.
Does that go back to having the VP supervise them?
Yeah.
That process?
So if I'm not in an RSO but requesting funds, do I have a WSA fund?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I did, okay.
So technically, like this whole Bronco funding, sorry?
Right, what they're saying.
So is their pot the whole year?
No.
What is a non-RSO? How much funding is that?
$5,000 is just right there.
Here, I'll pull this
I
up.
can't see that far, so that's.
It's right in front of you
What's
as well.
considered a non-RSO? Like, is that just like a student saying, hey, I want to borrow money, or, but what's a non-RSO? Because in order to be considered even to say RSO, you have to do that.
Is that bigger?
Yeah, that's great.
So technically, so for example, like I'm not in any RSO other than WSA and College Democrats, and I have an idea of, let's say, I want to have a marathon on campus, for example, just a random bullshit idea. This is an individual idea that I have, and no other RSOs want to pick up. That's probably the first question that the commission asks. Why are you not approaching any RSOs for this idea? And say, all other RSOs do not want to pick up the idea. And we felt that, hey, that's a good idea. It's evaluated. And why not we give that opportunity for them as well? So that's the whole basis, that if it's a good idea, why are we restricting them? Because what I noticed was previously, the last semester, there was actually 2 events that were actually very good idea. But firstly, WSA does not have that avenue for individual students to come forward to us and say, hey, I have a good idea, I want to pitch it to you, and you guys can fund us. But our laws restricts us from doing that. CAP doesn't allow that. Other than now, they introduced the event pitching. Office of Student Engagement doesn't want to take it up. And she approached to almost all the other RSOs that's related to an event. So my perspective, and I actually pitched this to the commission, and they agreed with me that saying that, so why don't we just give that option, that avenue for individual students, but we create this very detailed, very restricted, but accessible way for them to have that event be funded. Compared to RSOs, where you can have a $25,000 cap, you can apply for startup funding, you can apply for conference funding, you can apply for operational funding, you can apply for event funding. Bronco funding is technically just for events. So that's the main difference between a RSO and a non-RSO. If that makes sense.
A little bit. I just want to make sure, because it's a little difficult to ask a follow-up question, because you said that you're looking at the Bronco provisions, but I couldn't help but want to ask questions about the other funding.
Yep, sure. You can just fire away.
Okay, so my question is, why would students get more funding for the operational funding opportunity within, for the Bronco funding, but not for the operational funding opportunity? That's for the Bronco funding. It says aspiring student. It didn't say RSO, it said student. That you will give them something that exceeds 5,000 per event. However, for RSOs, to actually do this and create events, like that's why they're created. They're only giving them $1,000 per semester.
That's operational funding.
Right, but what I'm saying is you're giving a $5,000 cap to students who aren't in RSOs, but there's only a $1,000 cap for RSOs.
Yeah.
So the difference in the operational expenditures would be, for example, if you needed to buy some equipment for a meeting. If your RSO is hosting an event, you get separate event funding, which I believe are the same caps as the Bronco funding.
Yeah.
So they're actually the same. It's just event funding for RSOs can be used one way, and operational expenditures are a completely different thing that RSOs are access to that this Bronco funding doesn't apply to.
The Bronco funding doesn't say anything about RSOs.
Correct.
So that could mean 2 different things if you're saying students versus RSO. Do you guys see where I'm coming from?
No.
I think there's a separate part of it that I think lays out the same sort of stuff, is there not? For RSO?
Technically, Bronco funding is non-RSO.
Not an RSO, right?
You're not an RSO.
You said Bronco funding is for RSOs?
Not for RSO. You need to prove that you're an individual idea that is not done by any other students before. It's unique.
Let me just give an example. So let me just call it things up. So.
Do you have the microphone?
So I created an event called the Aviation Mental Health Town Hall. Right, mental health and aviation last year. It's not associated with an RSO. It's not an RSO. It's an idea that I had that I think needs to be brought up, right, in aviation. So, for example, Bronco Funding would be an opportunity for me to come to WSA and say, hey, I'm passionate about this topic. However, I have no support from an RSO. Can you help me fund an event surrounding this topic? Right? So I'm an aspiring student, wants to do something impactful on campus. However, I'm not part of an RSO. That, I think, is what Bronco Funding is used for. If it was an RSO hosting an event, it would be going for event funding, not Bronco Funding. Is that clear? Questions?
So Bronco Funding is individual, operation funding is more like you can equipment for an RSO. For an RSO.
Okay, let me just summarize it for you, for your benefit. For conference funding, operational funding, event funding, collaboration funding, and whatever is the brown and gold and sustainability exemption policy, it's all only for RSOs. Only for 6.07 Bronco funding, it's only for non-RSO. Yep.
So how does Bronco Funding, how is that given to the students? So like, you know, like the
So-
RSOs have like their own card. They could-
Yes, so technically what happens is they will form a committee almost like an RSO. So when they apply for funding from us, they will approach OSC. OSC will automatically create an account. So this is something that a lot of RSOs do not know, and previously when when we did not have that collaboration with OSC, like we had the discussion on how funding really works, we found out that when RSOs get created, what they do is that they do not immediately create an account for them. What they do is that they do not actually create a bank account, but it's actually called WMU account. So that account automatically, OSC will automatically injects the money that asked during the deliberation. So this whole process will be exactly the same for the Bronco funding. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I'm just, I mean, this could be a further conversation, it doesn't have to be something about today, but I'm just wondering, because just say me and you, us four, we go up to y'all and like, hey, we need some money, and then it's transferred to it's transferred to Office of Student Engagement, that's how we get the money out. Then, say you and four other people go up there, and then now you're having all these types of different ways to get money and have an event, like, how is it kind of like, how's it kind of looked at, how is it monitored, because then you're getting all these $5,000 away, of course it has, but how is it being tracked? You know, because only us four are going up, and then.
So firstly, they do have a portal for that. So whatever funding, for example, you apply funding from us, you apply funding from CAP, you apply funding from, let's say, the Sports Council, all the money that's related to WM account from the SAF funding, they would have a portal for it. And that's not under our jurisdiction, unfortunately. We have requested for it, OSC has denied us. We have asked a lot of times that they should share it with us because that would be more collaborative, but they have denied to work with us on that for now. So I can't answer that question for you. Yes.
Just to help clarify that too, they're also, that's for an event that they're looking for. So clearly OSC and us will know that that is an event. So if they have multiple people from us particular. I was, yeah.
Okay, start over, we were.
Sorry.
Yeah, so this funding right here is for events for one person, the Bronco funding. So if you go to talk to these guys about a collaboration with them, trying to get Bronco funding for your event, we know that that one event is what's getting this funding. So if there's 7 groups trying to do it, we're gonna know. That's how you keep that in check.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about like one event specifically, but I'm just saying if 4 of us went to go get money for an event, and then now the same person with another thing is trying to do another event, and they could still like have access to the money. You know what I'm saying? Like church like that, that might not be what I'm saying, because I'm not really
If I
this
could
person in.
just interject maybe. In the past, how it's worked is you have to submit a receipt. They don't give you the money up front, so you get reimbursed usually. So that way you have to prove that whatever you bought went towards the event, and then they'll reimburse you for that expenditure.
Okay,
That
so
way
then
we're not
what-
giving you $5,000 cash you can spend on whatever.
I got you. So how does reimbursement work then? Because if I'm a score student, I don't have $5,000 to go do an event. So how would that even, why can I get money with precedent?
So what you can do historically is for smaller purchases, you can go and buy it yourself and submit the receipt. Or you can collect an invoice from your vendor and submit that right to the OSC, and that way none of the money comes out of your account. The university will pay it for you, but you still need proof that you have a contract or an invoice with the vendor saying that you have a verified purchase for your event.
Which this would be included in the packet, and I'm gonna discuss it later if you have time.
So, hi, my name's Nick. Looking at the time and stuff, I don't want to run into the same issue that we had at last meeting. So I would like to make a motion to approve the bylaws as amended already, and then we can continue discussion and deliberation over them at a later time.
And we, other than that, the rest is exactly nothing much, like no big changes. So only 6.0, only Article 6 is the biggest change that I would like to put forward here. So you guys can move forward. with that.
Hold on, so you made a motion, right?
Yes.
A motion's been made. We cannot move on to anything until that motion's either been seconded. Is it seconded? It's been moved and seconded. So you are asking not to move into voting, but to move into discussion because we are ending the questions though. Correct?
I was motioning to approve the bylaws as sort of vote. So to vote on these bylaws. Motion to skip everything and let's just approve it now so we can discuss about it more later, but have it approved for future funding.
All right, so this is, I'm gonna need everyone to make sure we listen, to make sure that we are, I'm very good at being very clear with parliamentary procedure right now. It has been moved and seconded that we go into voting. At this point, I'm going to ask everyone to cast a vote whether you want to end the question discussion section and move into voting. At this time, you are not voting to approve nor reject the bylaws. You're only voting to move into voting and end discussion. Is there consent?
Consent.
Is there opposition? Opposition, we will move into a Slido vote. Reminder, you are not voting to approve or reject these bylaws. You are voting to end discussion and move into voting on them.
Yeah, so we have like 5 minutes. Actually, we have 35, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, you go.
That's a lot of noise.
Perfect. All right, just wanted to have all here. Right, I'm gonna give about 10 more seconds to vote.
He's still logging in.
Yeah, I also have not voted yet.
Okay. Please. Tyler, go on here.
Oh.
I want to make sure I get your class on time. Are you guys all set? I'm gonna give you like 10 more seconds because I'm gonna need to vote. And I'm closing the poll. With 32 votes cast, this motion passes by 81%. We will go into voting now on the actual adoption of these bylaws. The poll is now open. Please vote to approve or reject these bylaws. Thank you.
In the meantime, while you guys are voting, I'm just gonna briefly go through. I had more time to show you guys stuff. We start off a new account. You guys can follow us on social media. We post a lot of updates on, for example, what the brown and gold provision is. You guys can follow us on that. We provide a lot of detailed updates on from that platform as well. Some brief look on how the packet will look like. This will be like a magazine, I guess. Technically, this front cover, what the cover is about. Oh. I'll show you guys again.
We're working on this.
Steps. Everything is put in here as well. The dates and everything is all in here, explained as clear as possible. You might miss something, so you guys can just approach us and we can work on it in the future as well. Yeah.
All right, so with 30 votes cast, the allocations bylaws are approved by 73% vote in the affirmative.
Thank you all.
It's 6 o'clock.
Oh. I was muted.
Well,
okay, so I'm done.
yeah.
Yep. Okay, thank you all very much.
Your camera's still on. All right, everyone. We are now going to move into the student election code, presented by Speaker of the Senate, Shapiro.
Don't worry.
I didn't know if I wanted to tell you the co-chair or not.
I don't know, acting as a current. Okay, I was gonna share my screen with us so I can go through it, but that's fine. All right, hello, everyone. How are we? We're fine. You know, it's been a long night. Let's make it even longer with the student election code. We're gonna move through this, to be incredibly clear with all of you. We're going to move through this section by section and soft approve every section and then go into an actual vote at the end. If you have a question about a section, please wait until we get to the end of the section and I will answer questions and we can make revisions conservatively, I hope, because I would like to get through this. Let's go. Let's just start. Okay. To start, we'll start with the preamble. I can't actually see it all, so I'm just going to hang on. Exit full screen. I'm just going to see it on my screen. Okay, so I'll read the preamble. The Election Promotions Committee, do I have everyone's attention, by the way? This is a very important document. And I really want to punctuate why this is important, because last year, a lot of people didn't agree with choices they had voted on. So we are going to all agree on it in this room, and then we won't have these issues later on, so long as we're paying attention. Okay, the Election Promotions Committee, hereinafter referred to as the EPC, in conjunction with the Western Student Association Judicial Council, is charged with operating, maintaining, and promoting procedures for fair elections of the Western Student Association, hereinafter referred to as WSA. The general election consists of electing a student body president, executive vice president, and any ballot initiatives. Below are the bylaws, guidelines for ensuring a proper election for the 2022-2023 academic year. The Senate election is to be postponed until the results of the spring 2022 general election are finalized. Should the adoption of a new constitution be the will of the voters, the Senate election shall be postponed indefinitely. The Student Election Code, herein referred to as the SEC, becomes effective immediately following the approval of the WSA Senate and House of Representatives, hereinafter referred to as the legislative branch, by a 2/3 affirmative vote. That is our preamble. Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns about the preamble of the Student Election Code? Also, we need to check the comments if I can see them. I'm not seeing or hearing any, so we're going to move on to Article 1, Student Election Code. Section 1, the Student Election Code as Western Student Association bylaws. After these bylaws have been approved by the legislative branch with a 2/3 affirmative vote, all previously published student election code shall be null and void. Within 24 university business hours of approval, the SEC shall be made public and available to any and all interested parties. The provisions of the SEC, except where otherwise specified, shall apply uniformly to all elections. Any provision of the SEC found by the WSA Judicial Council to be in contradiction with the provisions of the WSA Constitution or WSA bylaws shall be null and void. Provisions within this SEC are severable for the sake of amendment and revision. Any rule or regulation enacted by the WSA or agencies thereof, other than provisions contained within the WSA Constitution or bylaws, found by the Judicial Council to be in contradiction to any provision of the SEC shall be null and void. That was Article 1, Section 1. How questions, comments, concerns on Article 1, Section 1, which is the whole article. Can no one hear me?
No, they can hear you.
That was a while ago?
Minutes ago.
Okay, awesome. I'm not seeing any in here. Article 2, Election Promotions Committee, or EPC, Section 1, Purpose and Composition of the Election Promotions Committee. Oh my God. That's not, sorry, there's a message that popped up on my screen. The explicit purpose of the EPC is to execute, coordinate, and promote a free, fair, and unbiased student election. The EPC shall hold sole responsibility to deliver election results to the candidates within 8 university business hours after election certification. In the event that certification is not feasible within 24 university business hours after the polls close, no, that's right. DPC shall hold the sole responsibility of providing continual written updates at least every 24 university business hours to the candidates. You can find descriptions of university business hours on WMISH's website. The WSA Vice President for Rules, Bylaws, and Administration, Mary Bertafel, herein referred to as the WSA VP RBA and the EPC co-chair, I'm acting co-chair as of current, are required to oversee a committee composed of interested students of either the WSA and or Western or Michigan University, herein referred to as WMU, as per Article 2, Section 3 of these. Did I exit a section? No, okay. Losing my place already. The WSA VP RBA reserves the right to remove committee members, including the EPC co-chair, with a 2/3 affirmative vote from the executive branch. Removed individuals may appeal to the Judicial Council. That is Section 1 of Article 2. Do we have questions and or comments and or concerns? Hearing and seeing none. Section 2. Powers and duties afforded to the Election Promotions Committee. EPC shall be the sole or shall have the sole authority on behalf of the WSA to conduct the student election. No candidate or agent thereof shall have the authority to administer or enforce these regulations or to otherwise attempt to operate the election. The EPC shall be tasked on behalf of the WSA with advertising the election in a neutral, unbiased, and nonpartisan manner. The EPC shall set the dates and deadlines pertaining to all student elections and referendums. All dates and deadlines shall be made public upon receiving a 2/3 affirmative vote from this legislative branch. Prepare and count ballots, receive petitions for candidacy in the form of intent to run forms, work with the Office of Student Engagement, here referred to as the OSC, to determine the eligibility of candidates, retain responsibility for answering any and all questions about the SEC and other relevant election procedures for all WMU students within 16 university business hours after receiving an inquiry, honor all confidential information obtained throughout the election as outlined in Article 8 of this document. No member of the EPC, with the exception of the WSA VP RBA or EPC co-chair, has the authority to disclose any information about any candidate or agent thereof without the direct written permission from the WSA VP RBA. Collect all evidence of campaign complaints and determine a consequence or lack thereof for the accused candidates or slates. EPC will also be tasked with distributing an official written report of their findings to both complainant and the involved candidates or slates. Any demerit is able to be appealed to the WSA Judicial Council. In order to appeal a demerit, a candidate, slate, or complainant must deliver a formal written request to the WSA Chief Justice, WSA VP RBA, and EPC co-chair via email within 24 standard hours of the demerit's issuance. Standard hours being just 24 hours. Whereas the university hour is like business days, so like 9 to 5, and then hour stop. You get it. At least you're going to have to. Announce election results on the WSA website, WSA social media accounts, and at the first WSA meeting following the election certification. Section 2 of Article 2. That's what that was. Questions, comments, concerns? Awesome. Section 3, rules governing members of the Election Promotions Committee. No member of the EPC serving during the spring 2022 semester shall be a candidate for elected office, nor be directly involved with any spring 2022 WSA campaign during the spring 2022 election season. EPC collectively and individually must remain unbiased, neutral, and nonpartisan during the spring 2022 election season. No member of the EPC nor the EPC at large may endorse any candidate for elected office. This includes social media endorsements. No member of the EPC nor the EPC at large may provide any candidate with personalized campaign advice or assistance, with the exception of advice administered at the EPC's campaign boot camp event. The WSA VP RBA and the EPC co-chair must both hold a minimum of a 2.50 GPA and be in good standing with the university. Any and all members of the EPC shall hold a minimum of a 2.00 GPA and be in good standing with the university. Invested in the Judicial Council is the power to overrule any decision or procedure of the ETC following a call for investigation of misfeasance, malfeasance, or nonfeasance in relation to the WSA Constitution and or WSA bylaws. A formal written complaint must be submitted via email within 24-hour standard hours to the WSA Chief Justice. WSA Judicial Council will investigate complaints and publish their rulings within 5 university business days. That was the third article, or third section of Article 2.
Can you just clarify what the difference between misfeasance, malfeasance, and nonfeasance are?
I don't know. I have no idea. Malfeasance is like you're bad and you intend to do bad things. I'm going to do a quick Google search for the other two, so hang in there. A transgression, especially the wrongful exercise of lawful authority. So like you just abused your power. And then nonfeasance, I believe. So many. Failure to perform an act as required. So nonfeasance is if I fail to do my duty. Malfeasance is if I intentionally just mess with things and like say spread confidential information that shouldn't be spread. And then misfeasance is just like I broke the rules. Well, misfeasance is the wrongful exercise of lawful authority. So I use my authority to like make someone do something, for instance. Okay. Any questions about that third section of Article 2? Cool. Glad you guys walked through that with me, figuring out those definitions. All right. Article 3, candidates. Section 1, elected offices of the Western Student Associations. All candidates seeking an elected office must submit an intent to run form prior to appearing on the ballot. Completion of the form implies authorization that WMU may inform EPC of the candidate's academic standing and status, including GPA. All intent to run forms are due by February 9th, 2022. The form for that will open as soon as these are approved. The web page on our website, the tab will open up. They're due on that day, as well as a letter of intent on behalf of each applying slate that describes their slate's motivation to run. That will also be in that form for you to add. The student election conducted by the EPC in accordance with the SEC shall be the sole mechanism of the selection of student body presidential and executive vice presidential officers for the executive branch. A campaign boot camp open to all interested candidates and students will provide additional information on the executive branch's election process and proceedings. It shall be hosted by the EPC current executive administration and WSA advisor on February 16, 2020. All candidates seeking office in the executive branch must be enrolled in at least 6 credit hours at WMU throughout the spring 2022 semester. Additionally, all candidates seeking office in the executive branch must have a minimum cumulative 2.75 GPA at the time of filing out the intent to run form and maintain this minimum throughout the course of the spring 2022 election season. In the event that either of these thresholds is not met or fails to be met by any member of the slate, the EPC reserves the right to work with the eligible portion of the slate to determine the best course of action. The EPC, along with the WSA advisor, will determine the best course of action for notifying ineligibility to any and all parties directly involved in the slate. In the event that the eligible portion of the slate wishes to continue with their candidacy, the EPC must grant the slate the right to replace the ineligible candidates within 24 university business hours following the notification of ineligibility. That's about 3 days, 3 university days. During the spring 2022 election, no person shall be a candidate on more than one executive slate. That would be ensuring victory. All candidates shall be responsible for reviewing and understanding the SEC. Candidates are responsible for presenting issues of confusion or contention to the EPC before taking any action that would be interpreted as in violation of the SEC, either by the WSA Judicial Council and or the EPC. Any candidate or agent thereof found to be in violation of the SEC is subject to 1 demerit per violation at the discretion of the EPC. All candidates may withdraw from the general election by submitting a written request to the EPC no later than February 23rd, 2022. If you want to withdraw after that, you technically can't, but what are we going to do? So, withdraw, whatever. In the event that one portion of the slate seeking executive office rescinds their candidacy at any time, EPC must grant the slate the right to replace the forfeiting candidates within 24 university business hours following the notification of withdrawal. In the event that one portion of the slate seeking executive office rescinds their candidacy after winning the election, the EPC must grant the slate the right to appoint a replacement within 24 university business hours following the notification of withdrawal. And that is, I don't know which section of that's section 1, article 3, or all of article 3. Are there questions, comments, and concerns about that? Wow, we are just booming through this. Everyone must be tired. All right. Article 4, referenda. Section 1, student-initiated referenda. Student-initiated referenda may gain access to the ballot in one of 2 ways, through the WSA legislative branch or through petition. Referenda may pursue ballot access both through the WSA legislative branch and through petition simultaneously. So if one fails, you can always bank on the other. The submission of a student-initiated referendum must have at least one enrolled WMU student acting as an agent for the referendum, hereinafter referred to as a student agent, for contract purposes with the members of the EPC. The student agent shall be responsible for reviewing and understanding the SEC, presenting issues of confusion or contention to the EPC before taking any action that could be interpreted either by the WSA Judicial Council or the EPC as in violation of the SEC. The student agents may withdraw their referendum from the general election by submitting a written request to the EPC no later than March 18th, 2022. Individuals or student groups who have at least one student agent as defined herein actively campaigning to oppose an approved student ballot referendum must complete an opposition of referenda by March 18th, 2022. Opponents of referenda are subject to abiding by the same campaign rules as proponents for student-initiated referenda. All initiatives requiring a student body referendum seeking to appear on the ballot through the WSA legislative branch must be submitted to the EPC via email by March 16th, 2022. Any student-initiated referendum seeking to appear on the ballot through the WSA legislative branch must have approval of the WSA legislative branch with a 3/5 affirmative vote. Did I jump 2 sections there? Oh my God, I did. Okay, so that's sections 1 and 2. Section 2 is really short. Sections 1 and 2 of Article 4. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, cool. Section 3, ballot access through petition. All initiatives requiring a student body referendum seeking to appear on the ballot through petition must be submitted to the EPC via email by February 23rd, 2022. The minimum number of valid signatures required to gain ballot access is 250. All signatures must be from current WMU students enrolled in at least 1 credit hour during the spring 2022 semester and on the official signature form. All signature collectors must also be current WMU students enrolled in at least 1 credit hour during the spring 2022 semester. Within 24 university business hours or approval of the SEC, the official signature form shall be made public and available to any and all interested parties. Each section of the form must be completed and legible in order to be considered. The official signature form will include the following sections: student name, student signature, date of signature, student Western identification number, herein referred to as WIN. The official signature form will also include the following sections: referenda, signature collector's name, signature collector's WMU email address, signature collector's WIN, signature or student agent's name, student agent's WMU email address, student agent's WIN. No, this is painstaking, just bear with me. The OSC shall check for validity of all signatures and the validity of the official signature form within 3 university business days of submission. Upon return of the form from the OSC, the EPC shall contact the student agents within 8 university business hours to let them know their form status. If denied, the student agent can appeal to the WSA Judicial Council within 16 university business hours of notification of denial. The WSA Judicial Council will review the validity of all signatures as well as the official signature form. That'll surely be fun for them. And notify the student agent of their ruling within 24 university business hours of the appeal. That was the final section of Article 4. Are there questions on that? Comments or concerns, edits? Cool. Article 5, elections, Section 1, election procedures. General elections shall be conducted for pertinent student-initiated referenda and for the selection of elected offices of the WSA, including the executive slate. Any WMU student currently enrolled in at least 1 credit hour shall be eligible to vote in the WSA election for 1 executive slate per election. Space for writing candidates will be provided for the executive slate. Voting will be conducted electronically on Experience WMU from 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday, March 21st, 2022 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, March 25th, 2022. Election results will be reviewed at least twice daily to monitor results. Election results will be reviewed at least twice daily to monitor results and update polling locations as needed. At least 1 member of the EPC, OSC, and WSA Judicial Council must review and verify all election results within 8 university business hours following the conclusion of the spring 2022 election. Election results will not be announced until reviewed and certified by the EPC. The executive slate with a majority of certified votes is elected to office. Any referendum with a majority of certified votes passes. The EPC shall hold sole responsibility for contacting each candidate with the election results within 8 university business hours after notification of election results or election certification. Unsuccessful slates will be notified first. Successful slates are not restricted in sharing results with anyone after they have accepted their position in writing to the EPC. All successful candidates must accept their position in writing within 16 university business hours after receiving the certification results. If a candidate or slate chooses not to accept, the next candidate or slate with the majority vote wins. The WSA VP RBA and or EPC co-chair will be responsible for publicly announcing the results of each referendum and newly elected officers for the executive branch at the next joint session of the legislature following election certification. The Chief Justice will be responsible for swearing in the successful candidates for the executive offices at the final joint session of the legislature of the spring 2022 semester. All ballots shall be retained for 30 standard calendar days after the announcement of election results. Each candidate or student agent has the right to request a manual recount, which would suck. Candidates or student agents requesting a manual recount must submit their formal written request, including the reason for the request, to the WSA Judicial Council within 8 university business hours following the end of voting, or the end of the section. Any and all complaints involving any candidate referendum or student agent need to be submitted to the EPC within 8 university business hours following the end of voting.
Okay, so earlier you brought up how election results can be announced via social media or WSA meetings, correct? So when you say that the ballot shall be retained for 30 standard calendar days after the announcement of election results, what counts as the announcement? Is it a WSA?
Oh, it's a WSA. Like the official announcement is a WSA meeting. and that's when the social media goes up.
Okay.
So that's the official announcement. So basically 30 days from the last joint session, which should be the official, or at least according to the calendar I have, should be the official last meeting. Okay, that was all of Article 5. Anyone have any questions? Or did I jump sections again? No. Any questions, comments, concerns? Some people, everyone, hopefully paying attention. Okay. Article 6, election promotion. Section 1, overview of election events. The EPC shall be solely responsible for organizing and coordinating all official election events. This does not prohibit the EPC from collaborating with other RSOs and/or WSA committees to promote or otherwise coordinate unbiased election events. At least one member of the EPC shall attend and oversee each election event. Executive slates are strongly encouraged to attend all election events as planned by the EPC unless otherwise stated that attendance is mandatory. EPC shall endeavor to coordinate schedules of the candidates so reasonable accommodations may be made to maximize convenience and attendance of both candidates and attendees. In the event of an emergency, candidates will be excused from required election events at the discretion of the EPC. Candidates or slates who are denied excusal for an emergency or emergencies may appeal to Judicial Council within 8 university business hours after election certification. Questions on section 1 of Article 6? Awesome. All right, section 2 are key dates. Please pay attention to these key dates. These will also be on the website, but once that page is unlocked. Section 2, election keys. February 9th, 2022, intent to run forms are due, and EPC sign up is due. So if you want to be on the EPC, you have to sign up. If you want to run for executive office, that's February 9th. February 15th, candidate voter information. Candidate voter information is all information about your slate, must be submitted to the EPC to go on the voter information guide, which is released on February 16th to the WSA, or on the WSA website, social media. February 16th is also the day of the candidate boot camp event, so you should come to that. February 23rd, candidate withdrawal deadline. So that's your last day to withdraw officially. Referendum through petition is also due on that day. March 2nd will be the vice presidential debate. Please attend. March 16th will be the presidential debate. And there will also be referendum through legislative branch due. So if you want to go through the legislative branch, that's due by then. March 18th, referendum withdrawal deadline is due, and then referendum opposition deadline is due. March 21st to March 25th, that is the election week. March 28th is the file to merit deadline. You have until then to file any complaints you have against the slate on that day. April 20th, swearing in of elected candidates. That should be the last joint session of the year. Are there questions on the timeline for this election season? Okay, cool. Voters guide and merit announcements. EPC shall create a voters guide, the purpose of which is to inform the student body of WMU about each slate seeking office. All information within the guide shall be solely provided by each slate or agent thereof. All information within the guide will be sourced from the slate information form that is due to the EPC no later than February 15th, 2022. The voters guide shall be released on the WSA website and WSA social media accounts no later than February 16th, 2022. This does not prohibit the EPC from distributing the voters guide in other locations. EPC shall publicize all demerits through a demerit announcement within 8 university business hours after a demerit or demerits has been administered. In the event that a demerit is administered during a time in which the polls are open, the above guideline is voided, and the EPC has 8 standard hours to publicize the demerit through a demerit announcement. I haven't talked this much in a long while. Okay, any questions on section 3 of Article 6?
Well, kind of question.
Go ahead.
In the past, I think they've also put the number of demerits on the ballot next to people's names. Will
Yeah.
that be included because there's just an announcement that's.
Wait, say that again.
So in the past, demerits have been included on the ballot,
Mhm.
and they just said that they're going to be announced. So not, it doesn't take them what them being on the ballot.
We can-
Draft or something that-
The plan, I mean, the plan is to put them on the ballot if there are any. We can work that out with Evan Heiser, which obviously you've done in the past. If you want that solidified in there, we can put that in. Okay. I mean, I can't make a motion up here.
Is there anybody that'd like to make a motion to do that?
Anyone?
Sure. So historically, when the ballot is released, if the candidate has demerits, it'll have the number of demerits next to their slate name. And we just want to put that in there to affirm that that's going to happen again, because right now it just says that they're going to be announced, but it doesn't say anything about them being on the ballot.
Did that happen last year?
Last year, the demerits were issued too late, so they never made it on.
Okay.
Does anyone want to make that motion?
Motion to put demerits on the ballot.
Been moved, is there a second? Moved and seconded, is there consent? Consent has been called, is there any opposition?
All demerits will be, how do we want to word this? All demerits will be posted on Experience WU. Hey, how,
What experience of the ballot?
that works. Cool. Everyone likes that wording?
That's not showing up.
Oh. Shoot. Let me refresh my. Mine's still saving, but it says all demerits will be posted on Experience WU, on the Experience WU ballot. Save. Save. Oh, it's not saving.
Is there anything above that that would say who would be in charge of making sure that happens? The EDC shall publicize. I feel like
Yeah, that's probably better.
probably have to cover that.
EBC shall host all. Oh, wait. No. Yeah, I'll have to do a full reword here.
Post all demerits.
I don't think your chat is fully refreshed because there are new chats and someone said opposition.
Oh, you're kidding.
Well, it,
And we have to go to the.
we have to go to vote yet, but we haven't actually voted yet.
EPC
so
shall
we'll go right
host all
now.
demerits.
I'm just letting you know the chat.
That's weird. Why isn't it updating there?
I don't know. Alrighty, give me 1 second.
Hey, look. Bo says opposition.
Alright, everybody. There was opposition. So we will move into a Slido poll. It is live.
I was trying to. All right, everyone. Bye, Emily.
All right, everyone, please go and vote.
Please vote on Slido. So please.
Also, you're doing great.
Thank you. Was that another comment? Actually, you have her. Okay. Bye.
Just so everyone knows, what's highlighted in yellow is what you're voting on to add.
They're also not flashy or the
Give a break.
So cookies in general are not.
Well.
Has everybody in person voted? Everyone in person, have you all voted?
Everyone voted over here. Yep, we're good over here.
Alrighty, then with 95% approval, that motion passes.
All right, can I get everyone's attention back here, please, so we can finish this out and then we can all go home. Any other comments or questions or concerns about Article 6, section whatever, section 3? I'm not seeing or hearing any. We're gonna move into Article 7, campaigning, Section 1, campaign procedural rules. Campaigning is to be conducted in a reasonable and ethical manner.
There's been a motion to table discussion. Is there a second?
Do note, I do want to make it clear that none of the forms by which you can submit your intent to run for an executive slate or join the EPC will be up before this has been voted on. That is 1 week less than you will have before the deadline, and the deadlines will not be changing.
There's also like 5 papers on, so almost done.
Yeah. So before, let's go ahead, second.
Almost done.
Is there a second?
Am I hearing one?
Hearing and seeing none, the discussion, the motion has failed. We will continue.
Alrighty, campaign procedural rules. Campaigning is to be conducted in a reasonable and ethical manner in accordance with the SEC, WSA Constitution, WSA bylaws, OSC guidelines, OSC handbook for registered student organizations, and the Western Michigan University Student Code of Conduct. EBG shall have the power to exclude and or demand recall by candidates any campaign material deemed in violation of the SEC. Candidates may not commence campaign operations prior to filing out an intent to run form, nor prior to the final passage of the student election code for the spring 2022 semester. Any candidate or slate found in violation of these guidelines are subject to the administration of 1 demerit at the discretion of the EPC. No candidate or student agents of referenda shall infer with or obstruct the campaign activities of another candidate or student agent or agents of referenda. Any candidate or slate found in violation of these guidelines are subject to the administration of 1 demerit at the discretion of the EPC. No candidate or student agents of referenda may influence a voter while voting. The mere presence of a candidate or student agents in the vicinity of voting shall not constitute violation of this rule. Any candidate or slate found in violation of these guidelines are subject to the administration of 1 demerit at the discretion of the EPC. Inappropriate use of email is strictly prohibited. Candidates or agents of referenda are prohibited from, including but not limited to, utilizing a non-personal email, including accounts accessed due to position or status in an organization, to send out emails or store information, harvesting emails from an online directory, and sending emails to the membership of an organization without the written consent of the organization's executive board. Any candidate or slate found in violation of these guidelines are subject to the administration of 1 demerit at the discretion of the EPC. Soliciting votes inside of any university building while polls are open is strictly prohibited. Soliciting votes inside of any academic classroom, regardless of poll status, is strictly prohibited. Campaigning within hallways or reserved table spaces, as well as during meetings and events, is permissible as long as it occurs prior to the polls opening. Any candidate or slate found in violation of these guidelines are subject to the administration of 1 demerit at the discretion of the EPC. All postings, campaign materials, and chalking must align with the guidelines outlined in Article 7, Section 1A. Candidates are strictly prohibited from campaigning during election week. Candidates are also strictly prohibited from campaigning during any WSA meeting, with the exception of announcing their candidacy at a WSA meeting. All promotional materials, physical or digital, used for the promotion of voting must be the official materials used by the EPC. Campaigning includes, but is not limited to, the following: campaign events, emailing, mass or individual, social media activities of a biased nature, chalking, distributing promotional materials of a biased nature, any event deemed to promote an individual candidate or slate rather than the electoral process. Any candidate or slate found in violation of these guidelines are subject to the administration of 1 demerit at the discretion of the EPC. If a candidate or slate receives 3 demerits, they are disqualified from the election and must cease all campaign activities. Any demerit is able to be appealed to the WSA Judicial Council. In order to appeal a demerit, a candidate, slate, or complainant must deliver a formal written request to the WSA Chief Justice, WSA VP, RBA, and EPC co-chair via email within 24 standard hours of the demerit's issuance. In the event that 3 appeals fail in the WSA Judicial Council, additional demerits are not able to be appealed. Section 2. Oh, wait. How do we like Section 1 of Article 7? Are we enjoying this so far? Awesome. Any questions online?
Nope. Yeah,
What's that one there?
that's from earlier. I answered.
Oh, okay.
On that one.
Okay. Section 2, campaign promotional and expenditure rules. The maximum amount of campaign expenditures by any executive slate or on their behalf is $300 USD. Yes, that word. All campaign expenditures within this threshold will be subsidized by the WSA VP RBA's personal budget by reimbursement unless otherwise stated in this document. Slates are required to submit receipts of any campaign expenditure to the WSA VP RBA via email no later than 7:59 a.m. Eastern Standard or Eastern Time on Monday, March 21st, 2022. Slates, as well as the EPC, will be held responsible for maintaining their own records for all campaign expenditures. Both sets of records are subject to review at any time as directed by the WSA Judicial Council. All slates are subject to a financial audit to be conducted by the EPC and the OSC should they be accused or suspected of withholding receipts of their campaign expenditures. All slates, upon submitting an intent to run form, agree to surrender or provide access to all documents and material requested by the EPC and or the OSC during the course of a financial audit. The reimbursement process will be conducted through the OSC at the direction of the WSA VP RBA and EPC co-chair after the election has been certified and announced. The WSA VP RBA and EPC co-chair hold sole responsibility for ensuring that this process is initiated within the OSC. A demerit will be automatically issued for any amount above the $300 USD threshold, as well as any additional merits being administered for the following thresholds. A second demerit will be issued for amounts between $325 and $349.99. In the event that the second demerit is issued, candidates or slates will only be eligible for up to $150 USD worth of reimbursement. A third demerit resulting in the slate's immediate disqualification will be issued for any amount exceeding $350. In the event that the third demerit is issued, candidates or slates will not be eligible for any reimbursement of funds spent. I added that last bit by accident. Oh, my head. Put any reimbursement. Slates may not distribute any promotional material with a purchase value more than $5. A demerit will be automatically issued for one distributed item that exceeds the $5 threshold, as well as additional demerits being administered for the following threshold. A second demerit will be issued for any distributed item that ranges between $501 and $999 in purchase value. A third demerit resulting in the slate's immediate disqualification will be issued for any distributed item that exceeds the $10 purchase value. In the event that the demerit is administered, in the event that the demerit is for a promotional item violation described herein, that item is not eligible for reimbursement. Are there questions on section 3 of Article 7? Awesome. Sorry, section 2 of Article 7. I was looking at section. Okay. Section 3, endorsements. All candidate endorsement contact information must be submitted to the EPC by the endorsed slate through the provided endorsement contact form. If it is determined that a slate falsified an endorsement, that slate must remove all claims of that endorsement and will be issued one demerit per false endorsement. That is section 3 of Article 7. Are there any questions on section 3 of Article 7? Awesome. Article 8, confidential information. Please pay attention to this one. Section 1, EPC. In the pursuit of providing a free and fair election for all students within the WMU community, the EPC reserves the right to classify documents and other information regarding any aspect of the election process and the candidates involved. These classified documents must be adequately labeled as classified at the start of each document. Reading, distribution, and manipulation of these classified documents is strictly restricted to members of the EPC and those the EPC chair and co-chair authorizes alone. No candidate, slate, WSA member, WMU student, WMU faculty member, WMU staff member, or individual/group outside of WMU is allowed to read, distribute, or manipulate specifically classified election documents without the express written consent of the EPC chair or co-chair. While the EPC chair and co-chair can authorize members outside of the EPC to read, distribute, or manipulate classified documents and information, they cannot authorize WSA election candidates or candidate campaign team members. That was section 1 of Article 8. How do we like that? Is that good? Awesome. I see one thumbs up and I'm taking it. Section 2, candidates. WSA election candidates, should they find themselves receiving classified information or documents, are immediately to turn in that information to the EPC and inform the EPC of the individual or group that provided the classified information or documents. That's section 2. It's very short. Anyone like? Cool. Thumbs up. Section 3, violations of confidentiality. This is really important. Please pay attention. Should an unauthorized person or persons redistribute, manipulate, or act upon classified information or documents, the EPC reserves the explicit right to perform one of the following reprimand methods. If the violator or violators is a member of the WSA in any of the 3 government branches, EPC must order the violators removal from their held office. The violator or violators are then barred from all WSA meetings, events, and proceedings for the remainder of the academic year. If the violator or violators is not a member of the WSA, the EPC must order the violators barring from all WSA meetings, events, and proceedings for the remainder of the academic year. If the violator is a member of a campaigning slate, or violators, The EPC must order the slate's disqualification and removal from all WSA election ballots. All individuals removed from the WSA may appeal to the Judicial Council.
Quick question.
Yeah.
When you say that they're banned from all WSA events, does that just mean like our meetings, like anything sponsored by WSA?
No, it doesn't ban them from sponsored events. It is events like any sort of, I use events very loosely there, but not any sponsored events. So like mental health, you can go to mental health week, like that's fine. But okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify.
Any questions on section 3, article 8 of article 8? Got it. Expiration of confidentiality, that's section 4. All classified documents and information are to be declassified no later than 2 standard weeks following the swearing in of all elected candidates. These unclassified documents will be stored for viewing in the WSA archives. Classified documents containing confidential student information must go through a redaction process. This process must be performed by the EPC chair and or co-chair and must redact all information WMU considers protected and confidential under their confidential information policy, which can be found here at that link. That is something I need to, is that good? You like that? I got 1 thumbs up, and that's all I'm taking. I got another thumbs up, another thumbs up. Anyone at home? Anything about the document as a whole? All right. We can enter into a discussion period on the document. Does anyone want to discuss? Didn't think so. All right, we can move into a vote. This does pertain to some money because of reimbursement, so this has to be a regular vote. So we will be moving into that on Slido now, or when Eric gives it up.
All right, Slido's open. Gonna give it about 10 more seconds. Has everyone in person voted? Everyone in person voted? Good. At the back table? At the other guys?
Yeah, they got that.
Everyone online? Does anyone need more time to vote online? Alrighty then, with 95% affirmative, the student election code for this year passes.
Thank you, everybody. All forms and including the elections tab will be unlocked ideally tonight, but within 24 hours as mandated by the newly approved SEC. Please run for something. Please, please do something. Join the EPC. Be involved. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that being said, we can move into oral remarks. Anybody have any comments they'd like to make? Alexis, go ahead.
Perfect. Sorry, guys. I will try to keep this quick, but I do have a lot of them. The first one I have is that up until midnight tonight, we'll have the Vice President for Academic Affairs position application open. So if you're interested, go check out the WSA Instagram as well as the WSA website. We also have applications open for conferences, which that application should be in your email if you were in the House and Senate last week. WSA members in all branches are eligible. So if you are looking to apply and do not have the application link, please let me know. It's a small committee reviewing the applications, and yeah, it's very exciting. We have 2 of them. One is the United Student Governments of Michigan Conference, February 18th and 19th in Flint. We'll all be driving over as a group. And then the Conference on Student Government Associations that is in College Station, Texas, March 25th through 27th. And we'll be taking a group as well. I don't think we will be driving. I think we'll be flying. So keep a lookout for those. So those are the 2 applications that are currently open. We're also looking for a few representatives, and not representatives at large, like not just reps, but could be senators or reps, to talk to the Kalamazoo State Theater on this Friday from 2:30 to 3:15. The meeting is virtual, and I did send those details in an email. So if you're interested, please let me know. I do have to confirm those names of those attending on behalf of WSA by tomorrow, but there is still room. So if you're looking just to put input into the local Kalamazoo community in a really effective way, please let me know. We also, 2 more things, so please bear with me, you guys. Want to announce that we have open cabinet meetings here from the rest of the semester. So every other week that cabinet meets, they will be open to you all. And they're all in Experience WMU now. So the links, you can join in person in Bernhard Center, President's Dining Room, or virtually via Zoom. This will be a really great opportunity, and we'll go more in depth on this at the next joint session, but a great opportunity to meet with your cabinet members and collaborate on the continuation of Project X meetings. That'll be January 21st, Friday, February 4th, Friday, February 18th, Friday, Friday, March 25th, and Friday, April 8th. So if any of those interest you, check out Experience WMU. We do meet Fridays from 3:30 to 5. Then the last thing that I wanted to throw on your radar and say is a quick disclosure that WSA in no way endorses this event or supports it, but wanted to make sure there was a level of transparency with you all that tomorrow before the Board of Trustees meeting that I'll be speaking at, there is a rally or a protest of sorts that is hosted by the Teachers Union and the Part-Time Instructors Organization. I'll be right outside the Bernhard Center from 9:30 to 11. So if you're interested, please know that we ask that you don't obviously wear your WSA hat there, but if you are standing in solidarity or just curious, want to learn more about their cause, please feel free to check out the rally and check out the Board of Trustees meeting tomorrow. All right, with that, I will stop talking now.
I'll also add real quick onto the rally that will be happening outside the Bernhard Center. Even though it is outdoors, they're asking that everyone still be masked and socially distanced. Are there any other oral remarks? Oh, that's well then, hearing and seeing none, since we had some technical difficulties at the beginning and we didn't get to it then, I'm going to do it now. All right, everyone, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved, is there a second?
Second.
Consent.
Consent.
Is there any opposition?
I vote.
Are you serious? No. Thank God. All right, that motion passes and the meeting is over. Good night, everyone.